Alright, this is the final part of the standard method of solution, and it's the bubble sort. I think the most important part of understanding this is to be able to explain it in English. So we'll go for that first, and then we'll look at the algorithm. So we've studied counting, totaling, average, maximum and minimum, and the most recent two standard method of solution, linear search, and this one today, bubble sort. So we use a sort to put data in order, so it's important that you are able to say that to start off with. So a Bubble sort, which that was my typo if you remember from the previous lesson. So a bubble sort will arrange our data in ascending order. So 8, 7, 6, 9, 4 will become 4, 6, 7, 9, 8. So that's been sorted. So we just need to understand the process. So the way it works is, bubble sort works by comparing each pair of numbers in turn. So first of all, we start off with compare position 1, which is 8, with position 2, which is 7. We then make a decision: is the first number larger than the second number? If that's true, then we swap them over. So we now get that. We then move on to the next pair. So we've compared position 1 and 2. We're now going to compare position 2 and 3. So position 2 is 8, position 3 is 6. So if the first number is bigger than the second number, then we swap them. So we've now swapped them, and so you can see this 8 is moving along here. So we're now going to compare the next position. So we've done 1 and 2, we've done 2 and 3, we're now going to do 3 and 4, which is 8 and 9. And this time we get a false, so we don't do anything with them, we don't swap them. So the array is still the same. So we're now going to move on to position 4 and 5. So we compare position 4, which is 9, position 5, which is 4. So that's these two. And we get a true because position 4 is bigger than position 5. So we swap them around, so we now get that. And we've been through one pass of the array, but it's still not sorted. So we need to just repeat that process until we can say that no swaps have taken place. When no swaps have taken place, we know that the array is sorted. So just to do one more pass, we compare the first two elements. So this is continuing with where we left off on this slide here. So position 1 is bigger than position 2. That's true. So we swap them. So we swap the 6 and the 7. We're now going to compare position 2 with position 3. That's 7 and 8. And 7 isn't bigger than 8. That's a false. So we're not going to swap them. That's going to stay the same. We're now going to compare position 3, which is 8, with position 4, which is 4. And 8 is bigger than 4, that's true, so we're going to swap them around. And then finally we're going to compare position 4, which is 8, with position 5, which is 9. And 8 isn't bigger than 9, that's a false, we're going to leave them alone. So the array is going to stay the same. So you can see each time we repeat the process, the bigger numbers move to the right, the smaller numbers move to the left. And if we go through this array probably 2 more times, it will be sorted. So we keep on doing that until no swaps are made. When we can record that no swaps are made, we know the array is being sorted. So if you can explain that, that's really good. It's really important. This is the actual array, this is actually the pseudocode, so we can have a quick look at that. So we've got our array, we've got our loop. It's going to loop over the array, and we're just comparing scores I with scores I plus 1. So that's the first position with position 2. And then the next time around, when I is 2, it'll be position 2, position 3. That's exactly what we were doing in the pseudocode. So I is going to be 1, scores I is 8, scores I plus 1 is 7. So that's the first two elements. If scores I is bigger than scores I plus 1, which it is, that's a true, then what we do is we store 8 in this variable called temp, because what we're going to do now is we're going to take scores I plus 1, which is 7, and we're going to overwrite the 8 here, so we needed to keep it somewhere safe. There we are. So scores I is going to be assigned scores I plus 1, and now what we can do is we can actually take the 8, because we're swapping them around, and we can assign scores I plus 1 with this 8. There we go. You can see they've now been swapped in the array. And then we go next I, so I is going to become 2, and then the process will repeat. So let's look at another one. So I is 2, so scores I is now 8 because they've swapped. Scores I plus 1 is 6. So if scores I is greater than scores I plus 1, well, again, that's a true again. We're now going to do this. So temp is going to be scores I, so that's 8. So we've now written 8 in there. And scores I is going to be assigned scores I plus 1. So we're going to take the 6 and we're going to swap it to scores I. And you can see I've done it up here now. And then scores I plus 1 is going to be assigned the value that's in temp. So we're going to take that 8, write it there, and that's I plus 1. And you can see they've now been swapped around. And then we keep on repeating this process. So I'm going to click through these slowly. I'm not going to talk through them. But if you play back the video and just check, pause it and check you're happy with each stage. Now I've got to this part here now where I is now 5 and we're trying to do scores I plus 1, but we're getting an error because there isn't a value outside of the array. So we actually only need to do 4 compares. So 8 and 7 here, and well, 1 and 2, 2 and 3, 3 and 4, 4 and 5. That's 4 swaps. So actually our pseudocode is going to be this. It scores to the length of scores minus 1, because we don't need to do 5 swaps, we need to do 4. Otherwise we will get that error. Okay, now we've put that in, it'll work fine. And then we just keep going around until they're swapped. The final part of this is we do need to know if we haven't made any swaps. So we've got the same pseudocode, we're now just having a flag. Set the flag to true at the start, and while the flag is true we are going to keep on going around and around and around and around and around, sorting those values out. If we set the flag to false inside the for loop, that means that the loop is going to stop unless we change it back to true. We change it back to true if we do a swap. So if we do a swap, we know that we might not be fully in order yet, so we set it to true. That means the while loop's going to keep going. So we set it to false, and if we go through the array and we don't get any here, so if they're all in the right order, the flag won't get set to true, so the loop will stop. Okay. So I'd just like you to put in your own words how a bubble sort works. Okay, thank you very much. Good luck.